following your journey. You just came back from 3 weeks in Sri Lanka, which when you
Yes.
mentioned to me, "I'm going to Sri Lanka, I'm gonna spend 3 weeks," I had to I Googled it. That's how dumb I
Really?
had I did. Of course, I've heard of Sri Lanka, but I know nothing. I really didn't know where it was. I caustically called it the Madagascar of India, the little island off the south tip of India, right?
Yeah.
But you have taught me so much, shown me so much video, so many photos. I'd love if you shared today
Sure.
from your 3-week trip to Sri Lanka in
Yeah.
mainly Colombo, but all over the place.
hmm So I was invited out there because I just joined the board for Halo Trust, the largest demining charity in the world. And Sri Lanka has had a 27-year civil conflict that just ended around about 15 years ago. And it's one of the most heavily mined countries in the world because of the tenure of the conflict, 27 years, and the sort of relatively constrained space in the north where these mines were buried. And there's myself with the deminers who are incredible. These deminers, they've actually been recruited from the displaced communities who had to leave their land because of the mines.
There's a
And
Canadian in there, I see.
well, actually, what that is our funding comes from a number of governments, including the Canadian government, are very good, are very strong funders. So our funding comes from the United States, Japan, Canada, Norway, Switzerland, and up until recently, the United Kingdom. And so often these governments, they support the efforts of demining. And so we're very lucky. And you see there's an American flag as well over there. I should have
Yep.
put my British flag on. And what's quite tricky about Sri Lanka is that not only is it is very dense, but you've also got the mines that have been put into the coastal areas, which is really hard to remove, as well as lagoons, as well as jungles. So the terrain is very, very complex. And over here, what you see is once they find the minefields, they have to sort of cordon them off so children can go in and play, and then they have to go and teach the children in the local schools what the mines look like so they don't pick it up thinking it's a toy. And I was there to meet, for instance, here's the British ambassador, the British High Commissioner, rather, to Sri Lanka, Andrew, and to give us sort of a briefing on where the Halo Trust is and how much. And we've done about 70%. We've got about 30% left. We've actually released land back to communities that have the beneficiaries have been around 180,000 people. So it's been given back to farmers, people, so that they can go back to their homes. So it is extraordinary. And then, of course, the US ambassador to Sri Lanka, I also met with her because, of course,
Mm.
it's part of stakeholder engagement when you're part of a charity to make sure that you brief, say thank you to those governments who are supporting
Just
as well.
the background, this is and that struck me, this is such a beautiful area filled with palm trees and gorgeous foliage.
Yeah, it is. It
Obviously,
is.
near the equator, right? They've got
Mhm.
weather sort of in their favor, in terms of
Yeah.
warmth.
Yeah, in terms of wars, but definitely not in terms of sort of the natural disasters that, they
Right,
just
right.
suffered a cyclone Ditwa. And of
Mm.
course, in the past they had the tsunami as well. And then that's me. I went to the Halo Trust, and they're up in the north, and and that's some of their staff. And it's wonderful because actually 42% of their staff are women, the
Yeah,
operations. And
awesome.
these women are in leadership positions, so it's really wonderful to see, because for the Halo Trust, the sort of the gender balance is also really important, and the women have massively stepped up. And I had conversations with a few of them through translation, and I said, why did you start working for Halo Trust? And they said, well, we've lost our husbands because obviously of the civil war. And it was quite sad. One lady said, we've lost them either physically or mentally.
Oh
And
gosh.
so, yeah, so it's quite heartbreaking. So these women then have to wake up at 5 in the morning, feed their children, school, come and do a shift, go back, feed. And so, these women were absolutely extraordinary. And speaking of women, I met the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. And again, to give a briefing, because, again, it's stakeholder engagement. When you're serving on the board, you have to, say thank you to all of the different, high commissions and embassies that are supporting and giving them sort of progress updates. And then, of course, also engage with the government. I was lucky to have a meeting with the Prime Minister, who has been hugely supportive. And so that's been wonderful. And again, just great to see a woman prime minister
Mhm.
as well. And Sri Lanka has a history of females in sort of political leadership, which I think is great. But that was pretty much it. But I think the most touching, Doug, was this picture. And this gentleman, he
The one
said that,
standing, the one standing.
but with the one standing, he's from the displaced communities. But I think what was really lovely was actually the gentleman who's sitting down. He was telling me the story that this particular land that we're sitting on was full of mines, and the Halo Trust, they spent painstaking years removing the mines, and he finally got his home back about 2 years ago, and the house had to be rebuilt. And he was telling me how that he was worried for 20 years. Every year he was moving from place to place, being a displaced person, and he finally got his land back, finally was able to plant fruit trees, which you can see the foliage behind.
Mhm, mhm.
And then he took fruit from it, and sort of fed me with his hands, and it was really, really, really lovely. And it was really touching, actually, because when you meet the beneficiaries, those stories really do benefit, and they do really resonate. So yeah, it was wonderful.
Let me ask you, if Sri Lanka had a brand that it wanted the world to understand, what would that brand be? Because as you said, 25 years civil war,
Mhm.
27 years.
Yep,
So
27.
so I mean, most of my time reading about Sri Lanka has been war-torn Sri Lanka, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, some would say, is it a country of resilience, because they've had the tsunami, they've had COVID, they've had the economic crisis, they've now had Cyclone Ditwa, so they have had a series of sort of very shocking sort of negative impacts to the country. And so resilience is a word that comes up again and again. But I would say that actually it's got so much more to offer than it simply being resilient. It is an island that has been on the sort of the spice routes for centuries. It has a history pre being sort of colonized by the Dutch, the Portuguese, and the Brits. And it has this incredible history. I mean, I think it's a very gifted island, because for tourism, you have everything. You've got beaches and jungles, and you've got tea plantations, and you've got layers and layers of history. And the architecture alone, I think, is worth going. And it's incredible. I mean, I spent 3 weeks there, could have easily doubled my time.
Great.
And I went also to go and speak to the media as well. They've got a thriving sort of media. I think I went to about 15 or 16 different sort of media outlets, and it was fun. And funny enough, there's still, print is still there. It's not as dead as it is here in the
Print,
UK
not
or in the
digital
US. Yeah,
print.
yeah. But yeah, print. I mean, of course, podcasts are making massive inroads, so is digital. But and print is still, a medium that is still used there, which is wonderful. So yeah, it
Wow.
was a great time, and they are very conscious also about strategic communications and the importance, because it's quite tricky, because on one hand they need to communicate that this is the impact of Cyclone Ditwa, the floods, the landslides, but at the same time that messaging and imagery isn't necessarily the best images for tourism, who
Mm,
don't want to come over if they
mm,
see those. And so it is definitely a country at the highest level in terms of political leadership, that they do think about communications as an important means to communicate with the outside world, because that's what brings in the foreign direct investment, that brings in the tourism, that brings in the trade. They're a big exporter for lingerie, so they've got a big apparel sector, so they make a lot of sort of retail garments. And so that's one of the big exports, alongside with tea. So they're big on tea as well.
lovely. And being so close to India, the two must just get along famously. I'm being fastidious because I'm thinking Canada, America, population wise, not country size wise. But like we're not the United States, and Canadians like to think of themselves as very separate and distinct. Does India muscle itself around Sri Lanka?
I think there's probably like mixed relationships. When I was there, India did an amazing job stepping forward and giving a lot of a lot of aid to Sri Lanka, and
Mhm.
so they were very quick to respond on the ground, delivering rations and so forth. And of course, they're also familiar because the south of India also suffers from cyclones and floods and landslides, and so they really did step up. But of course, you have that sort of big brother of the region, and I think, funny enough, Sri Lanka has the sort of same relationship that India and Sri Lanka has. Sri Lanka is a much bigger country than, say, the Maldives, who are their neighbors. So it's always really, really interesting to see.
I can see one of our viewers works for a television network here in Canada. How big would you say the TV industry is in Sri Lanka?
I would say, I mean, they're quite well known for their sort of dramas. I mean, they've got a big diaspora. Remember that, the
Ah,
Tamil, because you've got multiple different groups in Sri Lanka. You've got the Tamils, the Sinhalese.
right.
You've got Sri Lankan Muslims, the Catholics. You've got the Burghers that are a mix of like Dutch and Sri Lankan. So it's a very sort of, it's a really interesting mix. And so, but the Sri Lankan diaspora is one of the largest diasporas in the world. And so, therefore, a lot of the sort of TV and dramas is not only for the Sri Lankans in Sri Lanka, but also for the diaspora as well.
Take me with you next time. I'd love to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, segment number 2 that we wanted to do today, we kind of wanted to have some fun. And wouldn't it be cool if we could just create our own board of advisors, right? Every organization needs a sophisticated, intelligent, well-meaning, contributing board of directors, board of advisors. And we are going to create the Week Unspun board of advisors with 5 individuals whom we know, who don't know we're putting them on the board, and are not really doing this because we're doing it all in ChatGPT. So Emily or Solomon, if you could share my screen, because I've got it popped up. And Farzana, let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see it.
Perfect. Okay, so we asked David we took 5 folks from the chats, the PR chat that David Gallagher has set up. And I said to him, so who are 5 folks that we could put on the board? He just arbitrarily threw these names out. Anne-Marie Blake, Catherine Arrow, Candice Coos, Rod Cartwright, whom I know, we've had him on Stories and Strategies, and Aaron Berger. I hope I'm saying that right. Could be Berger. I may not quite have that right. And they don't know we're doing this, by the way, Farzana. I didn't even tell them.
Okay.
Emily's telling me to zoom in. Can you see that a little better?
Yeah.
Okay. So they don't even know we're doing this. We've put them on the board, and up top, I've just simply told ChatGPT that they're on our board of directors, and to give us a short sentence with their advice. We can ask them any question we want, and we can get their advice. This is based on the content that they've just put up online. Anyone else I should add to the board? Should I be adding David Gallagher to the board, or what do you think?
Well, I mean, he's a co-host, right? So.
Oh, keep him out. Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what question? What do we want to ask our board?
Gosh, trends for next year for communications.
What are the PR trends for 2026? Okay, put that in, and we'll see the answer that
Anne-Marie is watching.
Anne-Marie's watching. All right. Well, we'll get Anne-Marie's advice first.
Okay.
Overall, the board tells us that PR in 2026 is going to focus on trust building through transparent data use, inclusive storytelling, and measurable impact. Now, here's the quote from GPT, Anne-Marie Blake. Keep that in mind. Anne-Marie doesn't even know we're saying this. Authenticity wins. Audiences will reward brands that show real values, not polished slogans. Anne-Marie, if Anne-Marie comments, pop it up. I won't be able to see it. Catherine Arrow tells us integration of AI with human insight will be essential, not optional. Candice Coos says purpose-driven communication tied to measurable outcomes is the new baseline. Rod Cartwright says stakeholder engagement must shift from broadcast to ongoing two-way dialogue. And Aaron Berger says data, ethics, and privacy will shape how we earn and keep trust.
I love that, Doug. Now, David has tuned in. So he's obviously taken a break from shopping at Harrods.
Good.
He wants to be added. So
Okay.
let's see what he's
Add
got to say. And
David.
meanwhile, whilst you're adding him, I just wanted to just show one of the cheeky comments that have come in.
Yes.
Someone's written that the British accent is so annoying. I really apologize. I was born in London.
Is that from someone in the UK?
I don't know. But can I just say, I'm so sorry if my accent's annoying. Maybe what you could do is mute and just go on subtitles. So that's something.
Oh my gosh. No, you be you. You be you. Okay, let's ask another. Let's ask another question. Should we ask something personal like, will you be Boxing Day shopping today? Just for fun. Let's see what the board
Okay.
said. You go ahead and read them, Farzana, if you can see
Okay,
them.
let's have a look.
And ChatGPT is thinking. There we go.
Okay, so Anne-Marie Blake, I'll look, but only for things I already planned to buy. That's quite an Anne-Marie Blake.
Well done, Emery.
Actually, you know, she's
Yep.
very kind of thoughtful, very considered.
Mhm.
So she's not bad. Okay, then we have Catherine Arrow. No rush. Boxing Day pressure really equals real value. It's very
Mhm.
wise, all these
Very
statements we have
wise.
on our
Yeah.
board. We have Candice. And Candice says, I'm more interested in observing consumer behavior than joining it.
Oh,
Ooh,
Candace just never stops. Candace is
wow.
just always thinking work and comms and strategy.
Mhm. Okay, Rod, only if it's strategic, otherwise it's just noise. Oh, I could see I could see Rod saying that. Aaron Berger, I'll scan online, but I'm not changing my day around sales. And David Gallagher, Boxing Day reveals more about brand discipline than bargain hunting. I think Dave is a bit of a bargain hunter. I think he's started his day early, he's shopped till he's dropped, and now he is tuning in, watching us.
He's in one of those massage outlets,
Mhm.
right? The
Mhm.
bags are down. There's someone
Yeah.
kneading his shoulders right now.
Yep,
Okay.
and he's tuning in.
What else should we ask the board?
Gosh, whether Martin Sorrell was right.
Oh, was
Mhm.
Sir Martin Sorrell's correct? That was it. PR is dead. What did
Yeah,
he?
yeah, like we had no future, PR is dead.
All right, here we go. Here we go. All
Come
yours
board,
once
don't
it
let
comes
us
up.
down. Okay, so Martin Sorrell's claim that PR is dead is both provocative and inaccurate. Now, Anne-Marie Blake, PR isn't gone. It's just being redefined around trust, strategy, and genuine influence, not old school outputs. Catherine, she says, according to ChatGPT, again, these people are not aware that we have been, apart from Anne-Marie, who's just tuned
Right.
in. So this is not from any of these people. This
The
is what
GPT.
ChatGPT thinks that they would say. So Catherine, ChatGPT thinks that Catherine would say something along the lines of saying it's dead misses how reputation work now underpins organizational value and stakeholder confidence.
Mhm.
Candice, ChatGPT reckons she would say something along the lines of the phrase gets attention, but communication still shapes perception and drives strategic outcomes.
Very good.
Our friend Rod, according to ChatGPT, would say something along the lines of it may be transforming, but the idea that organizations don't need strategic narrative and credibility is wrong. Good. Now, Aaron, ChatGPT reckons he would say something along the lines of flooding channels for visibility isn't a replacement for thoughtful reputational relationship building. Our friend DG, David, would say PR functions are alive, they're just embedded deeper in strategy, culture, and how leaders earn trust. So,
Awesome.
all
Awesome.
very coherent.
I've got
Off
one
my
more question,
10 board.
just in the lighter spirit. What is your favorite flavor of ice cream? This is just GPT output, right?
Okay.
Okay. There you go.
So Anne-Marie vanilla,
Vanilla
Catherine,
and
yeah,
Marie.
and then Catherine
Yeah,
salted caramel.
that's a little more flavorful.
Okay, Candice pistachio,
There you go. There you go. Now,
and then Rod
Candace is going
chocolate.
deep. Yeah.
Aaron cookies and cream. That's
Okay.
quite an American thing, isn't it? David Gallagher vanilla again.
The benchmark flavor. Look at benchmarks.
Oh, like
Like
trust in
tr-
communications. So do you think in the future people don't have to pay for board advisors? They can just actually take the people that they admire and just feed them with all the books and the thought leadership articles that they've written and then have a separate ChatGPT for each sort of pretend board advisor and then just ask them questions?
Can I be provocative?
Mm-hmm.
Kinda. Because this is based on let's and we did this live. We did not this is not pre-recorded. We did this, whatever GPT found is based on the content that these
Yeah.
6 people have created online. And this is GPT's interpretation of that content, where it could find it, where it found headlines, and how it read it. So will people make use of something like this and create a board of advisors? Yeah, I kind of think they will do something like this. And as generative AI gets stronger and stronger, and we're also in a world where we're not believing AI. I believe AI if I create it. If you, Farzana, create the AI, I don't. It's not. I don't. It's not real. It's not. It's not authentic. But so I think in a way we might. What do you think?
I do. And sometimes I think, would people pay to take someone's ChatGPT that's been trained on their prompts for the last 2 years because they give
Ah,
intelligent prompts and they
yes.
submit really interesting data into their ChatGPT? So that would be quite interesting.
Yeah, and it makes you think about the content that you're putting out there, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, um,
Mm.
it really it does make me stop and wonder where all this is going.
Food for thought.
Okay. It's been quite a year for news headlines around the world. Headlines that come up, they catch your attention instead of the big headline about Trump or about the Epstein files, which have kind of become the Bill Clinton files for a little while. Sorry, David, I had to get that in there. I wanted to take a lighter look at the headlines around the world. So, Emily or Solomon, if you could roll the video, I thought we would just check out some of the headlines that have popped up now and again. Here's the first one: Pennsylvania Flood Museum temporarily closed due to flooding. This one: man sinks in quicksand and emerges with girlfriend. That's a meet cute. That's a fantastic meet cute. Here's one: thieves stole 100,000 organic eggs off a trailer in Pennsylvania. Police are scrambling. Well played. Well played, right? They're going to crack the case. Pregnant ancient Egyptian mummy with cancer actually wasn't pregnant and doesn't have cancer, was the headline. Louvre heist fallout reveals museum's video security password was Louvre.
Ooh, dear.
That's dangerous. That's just not going to fly when it's set so simple like that. Everything I say leaks, Mark Zuckerberg says in leaked meeting audio. Poundland sold for £1 with shops set to close. Poundland? What is that? Drunk raccoon goes on drunken rampage in Virginia liquor store and passes out on bathroom floor.
Yeah, that's my spirit animal.
He was trapped. Hungover woman in hen costume finishes third at Brighton Marathon. Well done. Well done. And there should be one more. Tortoise missing for months, found a mile from home.
Bless.
He almost made. That's a slow news day. That's a slow news. But those are what I thought were the 2025 headlines of the year that came up.
So here's a headline that I'm just inventing. People often say you should put your best foot forward. Is our best foot forward ChatGPT now? So David's written, my AI version is more thoughtful than the real me.
I don't know. It came up with vanilla, David. No nuts. No nuts. But
listen, don't knock vanilla. I kind of like it. And I think actually it was correct for Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie said correct. I'm assuming correct for vanilla and not correct for AI is going to replace board advisors.
I hope not. Right. But do I think some, especially smaller companies might do some of that? Like, would I add Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger to my board, my online board?
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of might.
Yeah. I think all of a sudden, I mean, the great thing about boards, it brings, independence from the executive team, a sort of a critical thinking, board's position is to really horizon scan, and not just for threats, but for opportunities, and ensure that the executive team is aligned with the strategy. But actually, a lot of small businesses cannot afford a board. And so actually you can now have these ChatGPT sort of board and, build your sort of your fantasy board, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett.
Donald Trump. Yes.
Yeah, Donald Trump,
Yep.
Why not?
Joan of Arc.
Yeah, Joan of Arc. But I would say for those people tuning in, why don't you do that? Why don't you build your fantasy, board and for 2026, and let's see what comes through.
Yeah, just for fun. Awesome spending Boxing Day with you. Appreciate it.
Likewise.
And time to, as we wrap up, as always, I want to thank our superstar producers, Emily Page and Solomon Ibeh. The Week Unspun is a co-production of Curzon Public Relations, Folgate Advisors, and Stories and Strategies podcast. The recordings are on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Give them a listen, a like, and a share if you could. And our final thought for today, Boxing Day, is maturity is the courage to examine the story we are telling ourselves and ask whether it's true. Thank you, David. Thank you, David. I hope the shopping went great. Have a great weekend, everyone.